Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's and Mataji's Dandavat Pranam. Hope I'm audible, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Srinanda
Jagure mana Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanara
Jagure Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vind
Jagure mana Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanara
Vindari Durlabhamana Sange Tarohure Bhava Sindhure
Durlabha Manava Janama Satsange Tarohe Bhava Sindhure
Bhajahure Mana Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vind
Jahure mana Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindari
Sita Tapa Batabari Edina Jamini Jagire
Sita Tapa Batabarishana Edina Jamini Jagire
Bifale se vinu kripada dojana chapala sukhalaba lagire.
Bifale se vinu krupana durajana chapala sukhalaba lagire.
Bhajahure ma Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare
Jahure mana Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanara
Vindare Edhana Yauvana Putra Parijana Itikiyache Paratitire
Edhana Yauvana Putra Parijana Itikiyache Paratitire
Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Tala Bhajahu Haripada Niti
Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala Jahu Haripada Nitire
Bhajahure Mana Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare
Jahure mana Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanara
Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Ada Sevana Dasyare
Shravana Kirtanam Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana
Dasyare Jana Sakhi Jana Atmanivedana Asabhi Lashare
पूजन सखी जना आत्मनिवेदना
इंद
दास
भजहु रे मन श्रीनंदनंदन अभय चरणार विंदरे जहु रे मन
श्रीनंदनंदन अभय चरणार
विंदरे अभय चरणार विंदरे
अभय चरणार
विंदरे Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya
Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev,
Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol. Naam Sankirtan ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Shall we read the translation for the Kirtan? O mind, just worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda, which make one fearless. Having obtained this rare human birth, cross over this ocean of worldly existence to the association of saintly persons. Hare Krishna. Does anybody wants to read any of these meanings?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam Prabhu, Giras Prabhu ki Dandat Pranam. Hare Krishna. Chalan.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Both of you, nice couple, KC couple, nice singing. Hare Krishna. Second one, both in the day and night, day and night, I remain sleepless, suffering the pains of the heat and cold, the wind and the rain. For a fraction of flickering happiness, I have uselessly served wicked and miserly men. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Prabhu. Thank you so much. Anybody? Third one or fourth one?
Can I, Prabhuji?
Yes,
Hare
yes, yes.
Krishna.
Kamya Mataji. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Third one. What assurance of real happiness is there in all of one's wealth, youthfulness, sons, and family members? This life is tottering like a drop of water on a lotus petal. Therefore, you should always serve and worship the divine fate of Lord Hari. Hare Krishna.
One?
I'll read, Prabhu.
Okay,
Uh,
Prabhu.
It is the desire and great longing of Govinda Dasa to engage himself in the nine process of bhakti, namely hearing the glories of the Lord Hari and chanting those glories, constantly remembering him and offering praise to him, serving the Lord's lotus feet, serving the Supreme Lord as a servant, worshipping him with flowers and incense and so forth, serving him as a friend and completely offering the Lord one's very self.
Right. Thank you so much, Prabhu. So today's class also we'll see in Vamanadeva Katha how Bali Chakravarti completely offers himself, how Lord says what is the use of wealth basically, and some of the topics that we'll be discussing today are all embedded in this song basically. Thank you so much for reading out this meanings, Prabhu. So, thank you, Hare Krishna. So we'll go into prayers.
Hare Krishna, Subba Rao Prabhu, Dandot Pranam.
Krishna Prabhu, Lilananda Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you so much for joining, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Starting prayers. ज्ञानाञ्जनतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्या मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो देवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
स्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपः कुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरतिशे नमः नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांगे नमो ब्रह्मण्याय देवाय गो ब्राह्मणाहिताय च जगद्हिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रष्टाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे वाचनं पंगुं लगायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं ब्रह्मानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम् अपवित्रो पवित्रो वा सर्वास्तिकतोऽपि वा यस्मरेति पुण्डरीकाक्षं स बाह्याभ्यन्तरः शुचिः श्री विष्णु श्री विष्णु श्री विष्णु हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण प्रभु श्री माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम हरे कृष्ण रामा प्रभु दंडवत कृष्ण कामी माता जी हरे कृष्ण गिरिराज प्रभु हरे कृष्ण सरस्वती माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम हरे कृष्ण श्री गोपाल प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम हरे कृष्ण प्रवीण प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु हरे कृष्ण प्रभु लीलानाथ प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु हरे कृष्ण मुरलीधर प्रभु हरे कृष्ण राजू प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna,
Pranam,
Prabhuji,
Krishna
Dandavat
Dandavat
Pranam.
Pranam, Hare
Pranam.
Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
Right. So we are in 8th canto, 19th chapter, right? Chapter 19. So chapter 19th, here Vamanadeva begs charity from Bali Maharaj. So if you go back to the previous chapter, we have seen the birth of Bali Maharaj, the little bit of history of Bali Maharaj, and how he came to the arena where seen the Vamanadev birth and the story of Vamanadev in the previous chapter, and how he came to the arena where Bali Maharaj is performing yajna. So from this chapter starts, or this chapter talks about more on how Vamanadev made the proposal or asked Bali Maharaj, how he glorified Bali Maharaj, how he glorified the whole parampara, or the whole ancestors of Bali Maharaj, and then he asks for the boon of asking for 3 feet, basically 3 feet of land, 3 paces of land, basically. So let's start briefly. There's a small briefing on the chapter summary. Let's read that. This 19th chapter describes how Lord Vamanadeva asked for 3 paces of land in charity, how Bali Maharaj agreed to his proposal, and how Sukracharya forbade Bali Maharaj to fulfill Lord Vamanadeva's request. When Bali Maharaja, thinking Vamanadeva to be son of Brahmana, told him to ask for anything he liked, Lord Vamanadeva praised Hiranyakasipu, Hiranyaksha for their heroic activities, and after thus praising the family in which Bali Maharaj had been born, he begged the king for 3 paces of land. Bali Maharaj agreed to give this land in charity since this was very insignificant. But Sukracharya, who could understand the Vamanadev was Vishnu, the friend of demigods, forbade Bali Maharaj to give this land. Sukracharya advised Bali Maharaj to withdraw his promise. He explained that in subduing others, in joking, in responding to danger, in acting for the welfare of others, and so on, one could refuse to fulfill one's promise, and there would be no fault. By this philosophy, Sukracharya tried to dissuade Bali Maharaj from giving land to Lord Vamanadeva. So we all know the story, but we'll try to discuss the story with the Prabhupada's purports and try understanding the philosophy of it. Then more importantly, how and when we read the pastimes of Lord, the two things should happen. One, we should enjoy reading the pastimes, discuss the pastimes of Lord, and that's what should give us the heart happiness or the soul happiness, basically. And these stories should help us. These stories, when we read because of the wonderful purports of Srila Prabhupada, the takeaways or the learnings from each of the story should soften the heart and bring us closer to the Lord, basically. That's the purpose of reading Bhagavatam or Bhagavata Kadalu, basically, right? The stories of the Bhagavatas, basically. Because these are the stories ultimately have to bring in the kind of transformation that one needs in life, the kind of transformation that one's human life is meant for, basically. It is these stories that help one get closer to the Lord, and that's the ultimate purpose of human life, basically, right? So in this story, so Bali Maharaj, who is ruling the entire world, basically, he's been uh, the whole thing is taken away from him in form of a boon and form of a this thing from Vamanadev. The whole the what do you call, the entire wealth of Bali Maharaj is requested. Though Vamanadev asked for this three pieces of land. So again, the summary explains the how Vamanadev glorifies the the of Bali Maharaj, the Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Prahlada, and all the heroic activities, basically. So this chapter is again divided into two halves. We'll be discussing the first half of the chapter, 1 to 20 slokas today, and His Grace Giriraj Prabhu will be discussing the rest of the topics, the 21st to 30 to 43 shlokas tomorrow. Only few shlokas have purports, but still, nevertheless, we'll try to discuss some of the translations and then some of the purports. Krishna, want to read the first shloka, Nana?
Shri Shuka Uvacha Iti Vairochaneर्वाक्यम् धर्मयुक्तं ससूनृतं विषम्य भगवान् प्रीतः प्रतिनन्द्येदमब्रवीत्.
So Sukadev Goswami continued, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vamanadeva, heard Bali Maharaj speaking in this pleasing way, he was very satisfied, for Bali Maharaj had spoken in terms of religious principles. Thus Lord began to praise him. So let's just quickly go to the last translation of the last chapter. So here, in the end of last section, you will see the conversation between Bali Maharaj and Vamanadev. The last sloka translation is, O son of Brahmana, it appears that you have come here to ask me for something. Therefore, whatever you want, you may take from me. O best of those who are worshipable, you may take from me a cow, gold, a furnished home, for palatable food and drink, the daughter of a Brahmana for your wife, prosperous village, horses, elephants, chariots, or whatever you desire. So Bali Maharaj was offering anything and everything to the Vamanadev. So Sukadev Goswami says here, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vamanadev heard Bali Maharaj speaking in this pleasing way, he was satisfied. Why was he satisfied? For Bali Maharaj has spoken in terms of religious principles that the Lord began to praise him. So when we follow the religious principles, the Lord is very happy. That's what it is, basically, right? For the principles, the religious principles are not given by somebody else, but other than the Lord himself, not given by anybody else other than the Lord himself, basically. The Lord he has given us all the religious principles for only one purpose. So what is that purpose? That should help regulate our life. So help regulate our life in what way? It should help regulate our life in such a way that we tend to think or we tend to understand the purpose of life, so that we develop that or we develop that based on the understanding that our life is meant to be meant to serve the Lord. Once you understand that this purpose of our life, willingly we surrender our free will in service of the Lord. That's what the entire human life is meant for. Basically, the God has given us free will, and that free will has to be surrendered back to the Lord by the principles of the Vedas, right? When that is happening here, Bali Maharaj is following all the principles of Vedas, and as per the principles of Veda, Kshatriya is supposed to take care of a Brahmana. And when this little Brahmana has come, he understood that he has come to ask him something, and Bali Maharaj has been to offer anything and everything to Vamanadev as per the Shastra. Once Vamanadev has realized that this is what Bali Maharaj wants to do, he was very pleased, and he started to talk about his ancestors, basically. So that takes us to the second shloka. The second shloka has a little bit of purport. Does anybody wants to read the shloka? Krishna?
Prabhuji, I will read purport and
Okay.
you
Okay.
read sloka, Prabhuji.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha वचस्तवेतज्जनदेव सूनृताम् पुलोचितं धर्मयुतं यशस्करं यस्य प्रमाणं भृगवः साम्पराये पितामहः कुलवृद्धः प्रशान्तः.
Mataji, Charanam, Bye.
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O King, you are indeed exalted because your present advisors are the Brahmanas who are descendants of Bhrigu, and because your instructor for your future life is your grandfather, the peaceful and venerable Prahlad Maharaja. Your statements are very true, and they completely agree with religious etiquette. They are in keeping with the behavior of your family and they enhance your reputation. Purport: Prahlad Maharaja is a vivid example of a pure devotee. Someone might argue that since Prahlad Maharaja, even though very old, was attached to his family and specifically to his grandson Bali Maharaja, how could he be an ideal example? Therefore, this verse uses the word Prashantaha. A devotee is always sober. He is never disturbed by any conditions. Even if a devotee remains in Grihastha life and does not renounce material possessions, he should still be understood to be Prashanta, sober, because of his pure devotion to the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore said, Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Sudra Kehni Naya E Krishna Tattvaveta Se Guru Haya. Whether one is a Brahmana, a sannyasi, or a Sudra, regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows the science of Krishna. CC Madhya 8.128. Anyone completely aware of the science of Krishna, regardless of his status in life, is a guru. Thus, Prahlad Maharaj is a guru in all circumstances. Here, his lordship Vamanadeva also teaches sannyasis and brahmacharis that one should not ask more than necessary. He wanted only 3 paces of land, although Bali Maharaja wanted to give him anything he wanted. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Amma.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Vamanadev, Supreme Personality Godhead in the form of Vamanadev said, O King, you are indeed exalted because your present advisors are the Brahmanas who are descendants of Bhrigu, and because your instructor for your future life is your grandfather, the peaceful and venerable Prahlad Maharaj. Your statements are very true, and they completely agree with religious etiquette. They are in keeping with the behavior of your family, and they enhance your reputation. Bali Maharaj has come in the dynasty of Asura Vamsa, but again, still because he is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, here Vamanadeva, Lord is saying, you have inherited all those characters basically. See, Prahlad Charitra comes in Canto 5, and we see most of the Prahlad Charitra ends with when Prahlad is 5-year-old, basically, right? The whole story of Prahlad ends, most of it. But then Prahlad ruled the world for thousands of years after that. We don't see much of it, basically. But probably how he must have ruled is inhibited or expressed in the character of Bali Maharaj, basically, right? He being Bali Maharaj was guided under the guidance of his wonderful grandfather. So when you look at the relation between Prahlad and Bali Maharaj, probably it is comparable to Bhishmadev and Arjuna, or Bhishmadev or Yudhishthir Maharaj, basically, right? So that's where they get their. We see in a where Yudhishthira Maharaj takes all the guidance from Bhishma Dev to rule, and how he grew up in his hands. In the same way, Bali Maharaj must grew up in Prahlad Maharaj's hands. So that's where all his what do you call it? The characteristics of ruling the world. The characteristics of ruling the world with religious etiquette. That's what the responsibility of a king is all about, basically. The king has the responsibility of taking the entire kingdom with him to back to the Godhead. So his way of functioning should be in such a way that he he is responsible for their spiritual progress. That is what the role of an ideal king has to be. That is what the role of ideal parent has to be, right? The people that are dependent on him in their own little kingdom of a family, they have to make sure that they are understanding the religious principles in such a way that that we as parents are making sure that people depending on us understand these principles in such a way that they are ultimately going back to the Godhead. If not, we are failing in our own role in that particular responsibility. Here we see that the kind of people Bali Maharaj is surrounded with the Brahmanas who are descendants of Bhrigu Maharaj, and because he took all his instructions from his grandfather, that he was able to put his mind, or he was able to put his mind in consciousness, in God consciousness, in Krishna consciousness, in Vishnu consciousness, and follow the religious principles. And who is giving that kind of what do you call it, kind of assurance as a certification to Bali Maharaj is none other than the supreme personality of Godhead, basically. So how much Vamanadev must be pleased with the behavior of Bali Maharaj to make such a wonderful comment, basically, right? Then what else comment can make one happy when getting this kind of praise from the Lord himself. Prahlad Maharaj is a vivid example of a pure devotee. Someone might argue that since Prahlad Maharaj, even though very old, was attached to his family. See, so Prahlad Maharaj's story is so important, basically because it talks about the what do you call it, the life of Grihastha, the life of Grihastha, because he led such an ideal life of Grihastha. The most of our principles of Grihastha life comes from teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, the preachings of Prahlad Maharaj in the 5th canto, basically. So again, this is connected to it. Prahlad Maharaj comes in almost all the cantos, apart from Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. I think the most talked about character in Bhagavatam is Prahlad Maharaj. How could he be an ideal example, right? And specifically his grandson Bali Maharaj, how could he be an example? Therefore, this verse uses the word prasasta. A devotee is always sober. Again, sober means it's not like being what do you call it, dull. Basically, it's being balanced, steadfast. In any kind of in any kind of eventuality. Basically, he's not He's being able, Sthita Prajnatum basically brings soberness, basically. So the soberness that comes out of Sthita Prajnatum is what is being talked about here. He's never disturbed by any conditions. Even if a devotee remains in Grihastha life and does not renounce material possessions, he should still be understood to be a prashanta, sober. Prashanta is the soberness that comes from peace of mind. Because of his pure devotion to the Lord, only because of that, prashantata comes, and from there comes the soberness of what do you call it? Being able to go beyond the dvandvatva, basically, be able to take both with the equal this thing. So whether a person is a Brahmana, Sannyasa, or Sudra, regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows the signs of Krishna, period. Basically, this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying. So that's the reference Prabhupada is giving us here, basically, because we are talking about the glorified asuras, the asuras that have been glorified to be the greatest devotees, basically. A Brahmana, Sannyasa, Sudra, it doesn't matter as long as you understood the signs of Krishna. Anyone completely aware of the signs of Krishna, regardless of his status in life, is a guru. Thus, Prahlad Maharaj is a guru in all circumstances. Prahlad Maharaj understood the signs of Krishna even before he was born, basically. So this is what Parikshit Maharaj is learning, basically, the signs of Krishna in those last 7 days, though he has seen Krishna at an early stage of our pre-birth stage, basically. So for us also, recognizing Krishna, recognizing Mahavishnu is one thing, but the ultimate thing is to understand the signs of Krishna, basically, again, understanding the Krishna Tattva, understanding the recognizing a personality, enjoying a personality is one thing, but when you understand that tattva, that is what molds our life. That is what molds the journey of the soul in the life, basically, right? So here, his lordship, Vamanadev, also teaches sannyasis and brahmacharis that one should not ask more than necessary. He wanted only 3 pieces of land, although Bali Maharaj wanted to give him anything he wanted. So, 2-3 things here from this purport, basically. Doesn't matter where you are born. It doesn't matter where you are born as long as you understand signs of Krishna. It doesn't matter which ashram you are in as long as you follow the signs of Krishna. Whether you are in Prahlad Maharaj is Grihastha is from Grihastha Ashrama. And here Prabhupada says Vamanadev also teaches sannyasis and brahmacharis. So Vamanadev himself is a brahmachari, basically, is a sannyasi, and he should not ask more than what is necessary. It's a rule of thumb for anybody, basically, right? He wanted only 3 pieces of land, although Bali Maharaj wanted to give him anything he wanted. This morning, actually, we had I forgot, and I had another class from 5:30 to 7. So I was doing a class, and we were talking about the 6th canto, 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. There again, Krishna talks about 3 things. You should not sleep too much, you should not sleep less, you should not eat too much, you should not eat less. And he talks, and the next sloka he talks, all 3 of them has to be regulated. What are those 3? Eating, sleeping, and karma has to be regulated. So you should not do too much of materialistic karma, or you should not live without doing any materialistic karma, right? This is basically what you should take it what is just necessary for your spiritual progress. Anything beyond that is brings you back to materialistic world. Anything beyond that brings you into bondage, basically. Here, Vamanadev is saying he's satisfied with just 3. By he saying he's satisfied with 3 pieces of land, we have to learn even we should not ask for more than anything that is necessary in our lives, right? So with that, we'll go into next slokas. The next slokas will go faster because we don't have a lot of purports. Hare Krishna. 3rd sloka. So we'll go read the translation. Anybody wants to read the translation?
I can read, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Take over.
I know that even until now, no one taking birth in your family has been poor minded or miserly. No one has refused to give charity to Brahmanas, nor after promising to give charity has anyone failed to fulfill his promise. Hare Krishna.
So Vamanadeva is already seeing the kind of thing that might happen. He's already seeing the action of Sukracharya, how it is going to come in, basically, right? I know until now, no one taking birth in your family has been poor-minded or miserly. No one has refused to give charity to Brahmanas, nor after promising to give charity has anyone failed to fulfill his promise. So, a couple of things. The importance of a promise that we make should never be broken, especially a promise that you are making to a Brahmana, the promise that you are making to your Guru, a promise that you are making to Lord Himself. So this kind of promise should never be broken. It has to be taken, can never be taken back. That promise has to be fulfilled. So if you in the process, if you are losing yourself, if you are losing the most important aspect of materialistic life is the body. If you are losing the body also, if you're losing your life itself, but you should not, you should stick to the promise you have made to your Guru, or you stick to the promise you have made to Lord Himself. The Lord is saying Himself here, you belong to a family that always stuck to the promise that they made to Brahmanas, especially in terms of charity. When you made a promise in terms of charity, they never went back. And Bali Maharaj, he's praising him to a point where he's saying he can never go back on his promise. O King Bali, never in your dynasty has the low-minded king been born who, upon being requested, has refused a charity to Brahmanas in holy places, or a fight to Kshatriyas on battlefield. And your dynasty is even more glorious due to the presence of Prahlad Maharaj, who is like the beautiful moon on the sky. Bali Maharaj, the Vamanadev extended the glorification of Bali Maharaj, saying, like, you belong to a dynasty that never went back on the promises, and I never went back and never hesitated to make charity to Brahmins, basically. Again, these are the responsibilities of a Kshatriya. These are the responsibility of a leader. These are the responsibility of any leader who, as a leader of a household, you should learn. We should all learn to see what our responsibility towards charity is, basically. And your dynasty is even more glorious due to the presence of Prahlad Maharaj. When somebody is following the principles of Prahlad Maharaj, then he is going to be automatically glorified by the Lord, like comparison to a beautiful moon in the sky, basically, which means so you will be there forever, and giving glory to, giving joy to other people. The symptoms of a Kshatriya are given in Bhagavad Gita. One of the qualifications is willingness to give charity, dhana. A Kshatriya does not refuse to give charity when requested by a Brahmana. Or can he refuse to fight with another Kshatriya? A king who does refuse is called low-minded. In the dynasty of Bali Maharaja, there were no such low-minded kings. Again, the fight is always Kshatriyas fight for. What do they fight for? They don't fight for extending their land. It appears like they're fighting for expanding their kingdom. It is actually they're fighting for expanding their dharma, basically. When a king expands his kingdom, he's actually taking the responsibility of additional land, responsibility of additional creatures, responsibility of additional jivatmas, responsibility of helping deliver those extra jivatmas back to the Godhead. That's the responsibility a king takes. And king never hesitates to take such a responsibility in fighting with other kings. Other kings, by expanding the land, they expand their dharma. This is where whole the story of Samant, I mean the principles of Samant Rajas come basically. When a smaller king, when I say smaller, spiritually smaller king sees a bigger king like a spiritually advanced king is coming and trying to expand, they immediately surrender basically because then they realize the small kings realize that when we are under the guidance of such a noble king, I also get benefited. The people of my country will be benefited. When Dharmaraj was doing Aswamedha Yaga, the concept of Aswamedha Yaga is not expansion of land, but expansion of dharma. The smaller kings would wait and see if they would also come under the guidance or they would also come under the rulership of Dharmaraj, they would lovingly become Dharmaraj Samantas. That is what Rajasi Yaga, Aswamedha Yaga is all about, basically. Being, what do you call it, voluntarily wanting the dharma of that Raja, basically. So Kshatriyas never hesitant to expand the dharma. So, and the dhana, basically, dhana for Brahmins, because Brahmins are the guidance of such dharma for the Lord, for the king, basically. Then when, as you go into the fifth sloka, it was in your dynasty that Hiranyaksha was born, carrying only his own club. He wandered the globe alone without assistance to conquer all directions, and no hero he met could rival him. So again, here Vamanadev is praising his ancestors Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakaspa for their bravery, basically. So let's go for the sloka 6. Somebody wants to read the translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Shall I read?
Yes.
Text 6. When delivering the act from the Garbhodakasi, Lord Vishnu in his incarnation as a boar killed Hiranyaksha, who had appeared before him. The fight was severe, and the Lord killed Hiranyaksha with great difficulty. Later, as the Lord thought about the uncommon prowess of Hiranyaksha, he felt himself victorious indeed. Hare Krishna.
Let's continue. 7 is also Hiranyakashipu. Okay. All right. When Hiranyakashipu heard the news of his brothers being killed, with great anger, he went to the residence of Vishnu, the killer of his brother, wanting to kill Lord Vishnu. Anyway, so the 5th and 6th shloka talks about more Hiranyaksha. So Hiranyaksha's glory of strength. The Lord is glorifying his strength. So here again, Lord came in a Varaha Rupa and killed Hiranyaksha. We have seen this in Prahlad's movie also. So it is said that Lord also enjoys certain bit of fighting, that physical fight propensity in him is being fulfilled by his devotees in the form of demons. Lord cannot do that fighting with Prahlad Maharaj. Lord cannot do that fighting with Arjun. Krishna cannot do that fight with his devotees. But that little bit of that fighting propensity, the physical fight activity in Lord is being fulfilled by his devotees in the form of demonic activities that the Lord does not like. So that's how they become closer to the Lord, and that's how they win the heart of Lord, by giving him an opportunity to fight with him, basically, right? Setting up a stage for him to fight. And here Lord is praising Hiranyaksha, that he's such a brave man, he's such a talented person, he's such that it is without any weapon in his hands, he went and he conquered the whole place, basically. And then, but when he has to die, when he has to let go his body, then Lord killed him. When Hiranyakashipu was not very happy with it. He understood that Lord Vishnu killed him, and he went in search of Lord Vishnu. Seeing Hiranyakashipu coming forward bearing a trident in his hand like a personified death, Lord Vishnu, the best of all mystics and the knower of the progress of time, thought as follows. So Hiranyakashipu went in search of Lord Vishnu, and even to Vaikuntha he went, and seeing that the Lord is thinking himself. Hare Krishna, who wants to read Lord's thoughts here? Sloka number 9 and 10. Just read the translation.
Hello, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Translation by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Wheresoever I go, Hiranyakashipu will follow me, as death follows all living entities. Therefore, it is better for me to enter the core of his heart, for then, because of his power to see only externally, he will not see me. Hare Krishna.
So, wheresoever I go, like wherever I go, Hiranyakashipu will follow me. So, the best place to hide is, the best place for Lord to hide is inside humans' heart. So, we in materialistic world, we being part of materialistic world, we search outward, but we never search inward, basically. And that is where Lord is waiting, actually. That's where Lord is waiting. He wanted to even Hiranyakashipu to see inside, but Hiranyakashipu never saw inside. He was always going external. But once we start seeing internal, this is what Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was saying the other day. We have to have external practices to go inward to go upward. We have to do certain things externally so that you can go inward and ultimately go upward, basically. Once we discover that Lord in us, Lord's presence in us, Lord's guidance in us, then we ultimately go upward to Lord's world, basically. Right, continuation of the next shloka. Will you read, Mataji? Kamya Mataji? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandak Pranam. I will read translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Lord Vamanadeva continued, O King of the demons, after Lord Vishnu made this decision, he entered the body of his enemy Hiranyakashipu, who was running after him with great force. In a subtle body inconceivable to Hiranyakashipu, Lord Vishnu was in great anxiety, entered Hiranyakashipu's nostril along with his breath. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is already in the core of everyone's heart. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. Bhagavad Gita 18.61. Logically, therefore, it was not at all difficult for Lord Vishnu to enter Hiranyakashipu's body. The word Vivignya Chetaha, very anxious, is significant. It is not that Lord Vishnu was afraid of Hiranyakashipu. Rather, because of compassion, Lord Vishnu was in anxiety about how to act for his welfare. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So Lord decided to enter or stay inside Hiranyakashipu's body. It's not like the Lord is afraid of Hiranyakashipu, but trying to see, when Hiranyakashipu in search of the Lord will ever think that the Lord is inside him and look inward, basically, right? Sometimes that's what happens in our lives, basically. We know the spiritual path, we know that such a thing exists and all, but when we search for something external world, at some point when that is not fulfilled in the external world, we then start looking internal. So Lord was hoping maybe by Hiranyakashipu at some point he finds what he's looking for in the external world. When he does not find it, he might see internal, basically. That never happened in the case of Hiranyakashipu. But the lessoning or the learning that we need to look for is to take from here is the external world, the search of anything in the external world will always end up in disappointing. And for that, Lord has already created an internal world where he is waiting for us to come and look for, search for that thing that takes us away from disappointment, a thing that never disappoints, basically. That kind of relation can happen when we start looking for Lord internally, and we recognize, realize, and understand the Lord's Paramatma aspect, then we can take the guidance from him to reach Bhagavan basically, right? But here, Bhagavan himself, Swayam Bhagavan himself has come and is staying inside Hiranyakashipu along in his entity basically. So the external world is vacant because there is no Vishnu. So upon seeing that the residence of Lord Vishnu was vacant, Hiranyakashipu began searching for Lord Vishnu everywhere. Angry at not seeing him, Hiranyakashipu screamed loudly and searched the entire universe, including the surface of the earth, the higher planetary systems, all directions, and all caves and oceans. But Hiranyakashipu, the greatest hero, did not see Lord Vishnu anywhere. So this is what most of our search for external world is, the happiness out of external world is going to be. Here, Hiranyakashipu is looking for that happiness of finding Lord, not for his companion or his association, but to kill him. But that he's getting the disappointment because the Lord is not there anywhere in the materialistic world. Unable to see him, Hiranyakashipu said, "I have searched the entire universe, but I could not find Vishnu, who has killed my brother. Therefore, he must certainly have gone to that place from which no one returns." In other words, he must have now been dead, basically. So here this shows few things here, basically. That this did not satisfy Hiranyakashipu not finding Lord. He did not look for internally for such of that Lord or happiness, basically. But he thought, he put even Lord on the same materialistic platform as his understanding of materialistic world. See, Hiranyakashipu went and got all the boons from God only for one reason, to defeat death, basically. From Brahma, he got all these things, basically to defeat death. So he thinks even Lord also is another form, or Vishnu is another. So he never rejected Vishnu. He never rejected Vishnu. He only thought Vishnu is another human being or another materialistic person with lot more power, and he is challenging Vishnu on a materialistic platform of powers, basically, right? That is what entire tussle between Vishnu and Hiranyakashipu, right? So that's his understanding of Vishnu, and he thought, if I'm not able to find him anywhere, which means that form doesn't exist. The person left the body. The person left the human. The person died, basically, right? That's his understanding of death, basically, right? So somebody wants to read this purport. This is a good purport, basically. 2 paragraphs.
I will read,
Krishna Prabhuji,
Prabhuji.
shall I read?
Yes, Mata. Who is that? Yeah. Yes.
Shall I read?
Yes,
I don't
Mataji.
know.
Padma Mataji. Yes, Padma Mataji.
Okay. Purpose by Krishna Prabhupada. This is general conclusion that at death everything is finished. Hiranyakashipu, being an atheist, thought this way, because Lord Vishnu was not visible to him. He thought that the Lord was dead. Even today, many people follow the philosophy that God is dead, but God is never dead. Even the living entity who is part of God never dies. Najayate mriyate va kadachit. For the soul, there is never birth or death. This is the statement of Bhagavad Gita 2.20. Even the ordinary living entity never takes birth or dies. Well, what then needs to be said of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the chief of all living entities? He certainly never takes birth or dies. Ajopi san avyayatma. Bhagavad Gita 4.6. Both the Lord and the living entity exist as unborn and inexhaustible personalities. Thus, Hiranyakashipu's conclusion that Vishnu was dead was wrong, as indicated by the words Yato navartate puman. There is certainly spiritual kingdom, and if the living entity goes there, he never returns to this material world. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Tyaktya deham punarjanma naiti mam yeti so Arjuna. Materially speaking, every living entity dies. Death is inevitable, but those who are karmis, jnanis, and yogis return to this material world after death, whereas bhaktas do not. Of course, if a bhakta is not completely perfect, he takes birth in the material world again, but in a very exalted position, either in a rich family or a family of the purest brahmanas. Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe, just to finish his development in spiritual consciousness. Those who have completed the course of Krishna consciousness and are free from material desire to return to the abode of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yadgatvana Nivartante Tadhama Paramam Mama. Here, the same fact is stated. Yato navartate puman. Any person who goes back home, back to Godhead, does not return to this material world. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hey Krishna Mataji, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mataji. Here, Srila Prabhupada is comparing Hiranyakashipu thought process to the so-called atheistic thought process, basically. So Hiranyakashipu never he believed that he's the greatest of everything, anything, basically. He never believed in something greater than him, basically, right? Because in believing the existence of God means surrendering yourself to some extent, basically, just the believing that there is a supreme personality of Godhead that is guiding the world, which means it is doubting your own abilities of saying I am the greatest, basically. So Hiranyakashipu is not willing to surrender that thought process, and that is what an ounce of that is what we see in modern atheism, basically. Because atheists, most of them don't want to believe in God because that questions their own ability of doing things, or they feel that they are surrendering to the fact that what they what they think what characteristics or abilities they think that belong to them are being questioned by somebody else, or going to be credited to somebody else, and they are not willing to give that credit, basically, right? Especially if you see very successful people, basically do not attribute the success to somebody else, because by doing so they are undermining their own ability, and which they cannot give, basically. That's how that false ego or super ego is sitting. Hiranyakashipu is a personification of that kind of personality. And here, Lord is saying Hiranyakashipu thought the God Vishnu is dead, but he knows Bali Maharaj is not like that. Prahlad Maharaj is not like that. And Bali Maharaj, under the guidance of Prahlad Maharaj, has learned the essence of Shastras, which is the surrendering to the Lord. That's the difference between Hiranyakashipu and Bali Maharaj here. That's what Vamanadev is trying to highlight, basically, to us. Sukadeva Goswami, through Vamanadev story and Bali Maharaj story, is trying to highlight to us, basically, the greatness of conquering the materialistic world, not understanding the presence of our Lord, or not crediting the Lord for it, is the difference between Hiranyakashipu and Bali Maharaj, basically. That's the difference between a surrendered soul, a soul that can do even Atma Nivedana, versus a soul that is hankering or craving to kill even the Lord, is craving to kill even God, not recognizing him as God, basically. So that's so if you look at the previous paragraphs, previous slokas, so Lord says, you are the one who have read the Shastras, you are the one who have grown up in the right Guru, you are the one who grew up with the guidance of Brahmanas. These are the things that we need to develop. These are the things we need to develop. Otherwise, you could belong to such a glorious family of ancestors, but still be left with not understanding the potency of the God, and not understanding the purpose of life, and not understanding that the God is God's mercy. Here, the God was merciful by staying inside Hiranyakashipu, but he never understand the mercy of Lord. Hiranyakashipu's anger against Lord Vishnu persisted until his death. Other people in the bodily concept of life maintain anger only because of false ego and the great influence of ignorance. And the ignorance, the root cause of ignorance is not taking shelter under Shastras. The root cause of false ego growing is not taking in the shelter of gurus, basically, right? So these are the two things. So Hiranyakashipu failed or is differentiated from Bali Maharaj, where who is one who took shelter of great saints and who was able to grow beyond his false ego and who was able to grow beyond the ignorance that Hiranyakashipu suffered. Generally speaking, even though the conditioned soul is angry, his anger is not perpetual but temporary. It is due to the influence of ignorance. Hiranyakashipu, however, maintained his enmity and his anger against Lord Vishnu until the point of death. He never forgot the vengeful attitude towards Vishnu for having killed his brother Hiranyaksha. Others in the bodily concept of life are angry at their enemies, but not with Lord Vishnu. Hiranyakashipu, however, was everlastingly angry. He was angry not only because of false prestige, but also because of continuous enmity towards Vishnu. So he could never overcome that anger against Vishnu because he believed that people can even defeat death, and his brother had to meet death only because of one person, and he has his anger against somebody's act that he thought can be defeated, basically, right? This is all coming because of ignorance. This is all coming because of conditioning of the soul. Conditioning of the soul is what making you forget God. When that conditioning of the soul is added with the fuel of angry, you are no more open to any learning. You are no more open to any learning. That's what we see in Bhagavad Gita also. When kama becomes krodha, krodha takes you to bewilderment. The mind becomes bewildered after krodha, basically. And in Hiranyakashipu is living in such state of krodha or anger till the last minute of his death. So again, here that element of krodha makes you so ignorant that you are never open to any learning or any preaching or any teaching from a Brahmana or from a Shastra. So this is something that we should learn to get away, and we should learn to unlearn the feelings of anger. For if you look at the comparison with Dharmaraj had every reason to be angry when he was defeated in the false game, when Draupadi was insulted. But he never found fault with anything, but saying that this is my karma that is making me go through these phases. And it is this at these phases is when I need to depend on Lord more than fuel my anger. That's why he became such a great personality or such a great king, basically. So at the bottom line for us is anger is the source that can make you an atheist, so much so that you have no more listening to Shastra or Dharma anymore. Basically, your heart and your mind is overfilled or overtaken by that false ego that is run by anger. That all your rest of indriyas, we talk about 24 elements, all the elements have become slave to this anger, basically. So you are continuously in tamoguna. You never come out of the tamoguna. Your karmendriya, panchendriyas, everything is now is acting with the underlying anger that has resulted in in atheistic thought process. So that's how Vamanadev has glorified Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, and he also said to Bali Maharaj, "You belong to such determined people from the dynasty of such determined people, but in Hiranyakashipu, it is in wrong direction. In Hiranyaksha, he showed it both of them showed it in the wrong direction. But when it comes to your father, Virochana, the son of Maharaj Prahlada, was very affectionate towards Brahmanas, although he knew very well that it was the demigods who had come to him in the dress of Brahmanas at their request. He delivered to them the duration of his life. So your father is little more different. He's a learned man. He's such a learned man. He's such a learned man that he though he knows that demigods are their enemies, but when they came in the form of Brahmanas, so he served them so much basically. So this is somebody who's learned and is willing to give you that knowledge. We should surrender. We should surrender, and we should do everything in our capacity to please them. So Maharaj Virochana, Bali's father, was so pleased with Brahmana community that even though he knew that those approaching him for charity were demigods in the dress of Brahmanas, he nonetheless agreed to serve them basically, right? So you belong to such a wonderful ancestral family, is what God is glorifying you. You also have observed the principles followed by great personalities who are householder Brahmanas by your forefathers and by great heroes who are extremely famous for their exalted activities. So, we talked about almost here 4 characters, right? Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakaspa, Virochana, and Prahlad, Bhakta Prahlad. All of them are a different kind of personalities. All of them are different kind of personalities. So where with the passage of one generation to another generation, the exalted activities, the heroism of the asuras have resulted in the bhakti of asuras, basically in the form of Prahlad Maharaj and in the form of his son and his grandson. Basically, that transformation happened by one person, Prahlad Maharaj. So the strength remained the same, but the direction of the strength changed. That has changed their dynasty. They changed their parampara, their vansa forever, basically. And Bali Maharaj is from that vansha. So the bottom line for us is how that strength can change its direction from becoming atheist to God-loving personality by that one person, Narada Muni's preachings to Prahlad, Bhakta Prahlad. By that one surrender of one soul, the entire Vamsa, or entire the dynasty has been released of their non-devotional activities, basically, right? O King of Daityas, from your majesty, who come from such a noble family and who are able to give charity munificently, I ask only 3 paces of land to the measurement of my steps. So this is where Vamanadev is putting his request. All he wants is just 3 paces of land. Lord Vamanadev wanted 3 paces of land according to the measurement of his footsteps. He did not want more than necessary. But although he pretended to be an ordinary human child, he actually wanted the land comprising upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. This was just to show the prowess of Supreme Personality of Godhead here. Vamanadev is asking, he's putting his first request of just 3 feet of land of his measurement, basically, of his small feet measurement, basically. So,
Prabhuji,
somebody
can I
wants to
read?
read? Yes.
Hare Krishna,
Yes.
Prabhuji, I'll read.
Okay, Mataji.
Translations and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translations: O King, controller of the entire universe, although you are very beneficent and are able to give me as much land as I want, I don't want anything from you that is unnecessary. If a learned Brahmana takes charity from others only according to his needs, he does not become entangled in sinful activities. Purport: a Brahmana or sannyasi is qualified to ask charity from others, but if he takes more than necessary, he is punishable. No one can use more of the Supreme Lord's property than necessary. Lord Vamanadeva indirectly indicated to Bali Maharaj that he was occupying more land than he needed. In the material world, all distresses are due to extravagance. One acquires money extravagantly and also spends it extravagantly. Such activities are sinful. All property belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the living beings who are the sons of the Supreme Lord have the right to use the Supreme Father's property, but one cannot take more than necessary. This principle should especially be followed by Brahmanas and Sannyasis who live at the cost of others. Thus, Vamanadeva was an ideal beggar, for he asked only 3 places of land. Of course, there is a difference between his footsteps and those of an ordinary human being. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable prowess, can occupy the entire universe, including the upper, lower, and middle planetary systems, by the unlimited measurements of his footsteps. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So here, this is one of the nice purports, basically, right? The king, controller of the entire universe, although you are very beneficent and are able to give me as much land I want, I do not want anything more, anything from you than it is that is unnecessary. If a learned Brahmana takes charity from others only according to his needs, he does not become entangled in sinful activities. That's the word, entangled in sinful activities. See, the Vamanadev is telling Bali Maharaj, if you have anything more than desire, anything more than necessary, you're entangled, you're automatically entangled in sinful activity. That is the source of sinful activity in life. What is it? Having something more than that you need. So that is what makes you. What is sinful activity really? Means sinful activity means what? It means you entangled to materialistic world. Um, Entangled to materialistic world means you become bandi of materialistic world, basically. So once you have this is how it works, right? Bandhu priti, bandhutvam results in bandhatvam, makes you bandi, basically. When you have likeliness for something, your desire, preeti for something, that is the bandhu preeti, like, you want that belongs to you, that makes you bandi for it, basically, right? That makes you entanglement. So here, Lord is saying, and Prabhupada in his wonderful purport, he's explaining Lord is telling Bali Maharaj, you have so much than what you needed, basically. And I am not here to take more than what I need, basically. Anything you take more than you need, that results in some kind of extravagant, basically. Once it becomes, you spend more, you enjoy more, you have to protect more. The more of these things you are doing, the more you are bound to materialistic thought process, materialistic thinking, materialistic world. All property belongs to Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all living beings who are sons of Supreme Lord have the right to use them, right to use the Supreme Personality, Supreme Father's property. But you only have to have the right to use them. You have no right to think it belongs to you. That is where the whole problem is coming. Right? They said the world has sufficient for everybody's need, but not everybody's greed. Probably the world does not have sufficient for even one person's greed. This principle should especially be followed by Brahmanas or Sannyasis, because they have decided to renunciate their life, they have decided to lead a materialistic renunciated life. And if they ask for more than what is needed, then the purpose is counter serving the purpose. Because I'm a Brahmana, I'm renunciating, but I need so much. It doesn't make sense, basically. The Vamanadev is setting an example as an ideal beggar, basically ideal Brahmana, ideal sannyasa. Don't ask for more than what is needed, basically. Again, of course, there is difference between his footsteps and then of the human being. Supreme Court as a Godhead, by his unconceivable prowess, can occupy the entire universe, including the upper, lower, and middle planetary systems, by unlimited measurement of his footsteps. And that's a different story, different leela of the Lord. But the lesson that we as grihasthas who don't have that kind of foot where we can control, we can put it on the entire world, we have to limit and we have to understand what is temporarily given to us to use with only one purpose. The purpose of whatever belongings we had is something that we should always keep in mind, that we are just the caretakers of it and never the owners of it. The mercy of the Lord, you are given certain facilities for one purpose. The purpose is to use them to help yourself get out of this world. Basically, you enter a bank, you're filling a form, you have a pen there, you just use the pen to fill the form, and then the purpose is over, you leave the pen, you fill the form and move on. The same way, the life has given so many things around us with that purpose of filling that particular one application or one surrender act of to the Lord, and then just move on, basically, right? Hare Krishna. So let us read this 18th translation and purport. Somebody
Can I
wants to
read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bali Maharaja said, O son of a Brahmana, your instructions are as good as those of learned and elderly persons. Nonetheless, you are a boy, and your intelligence is insufficient. Thus, you are not very prudent in regard to your self-interest. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being full in himself, actually has nothing to want for his self-interest. Lord Vamanadeva therefore had not gone to Bali Maharaja for his own self-interest. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, 1 minute.
Bhoktaram Yajnatapasam
Yes,
Sarva Loka Maheshwaram.
Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. The Lord is the proprietor of all planets in both the material and spiritual worlds. Why should he be in want of land? Bali Maharaja rightly said that Lord Vamanadeva was not at all prudent in regard to his own personal interests. Lord Vamanadeva had approached Bali not for his personal welfare, but for the welfare of his devotees. Devotees sacrifice all personal interests to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and similarly, the Supreme Lord, although having no personal interest, can do anything for the interests of his devotees. One who is in full in himself has no personal interest. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So again, the Supreme Personality Godhead being full in himself, we read it in Ishopanishad, right? So God is Purna. He's already full, basically. He has nothing else that he wants for himself, basically. We on the other hand, in the materialistic world, are never full, and we always want to get anything, but we never feel we are full, basically, right? So Lord so the Bali Maharaj is telling the Lord, you look like you're a Brahmana, you're a son of a Brahmana, you're a small boy, you look like a small boy, you don't know what your needs are, you look like very unintelligent person, your intelligence is not matured enough, thus you're not asking, you're not making the best use of the great opportunity you have. The opportunity you have is ask for anything. I can give you an island, I can give you a planet, basically, if you want to, basically, right? But you have your request is showing your immaturity, your preteen years. Really, Vamanadev is even not even teenage at that point of time, basically, right? This is what it is showing. But Supreme Personality of God, who know he's complete, so he doesn't need anything, basically. Whatever he's asking is only for the welfare of devotees. Devotees. Who is a devotee? Devotee is somebody who is willing to go back to the Godhead, basically. So that's what God cares for, basically. And that's what Prabhupada is explaining again. God has no need to ask anything for his personal interest, but whatever he's asking, it's only for his devotees. So next sloka, who wants to read? 19, you want to read? Sure.
Text
Hare
19.
Krishna Prabhuji. Translation and purport, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. I am able to give you an entire island because I am the proprietor of the three divisions of the universe. You have come to take something from me and have pleased me by your sweet words. But you are asking only 3 pieces of land. Therefore, you are not very intelligent. Purport. According to Vedic understanding, the entire universe is regarded as an ocean of space. In that ocean, there are innumerable planets, and each planet is called a Dvipa or island. When approached by Lord Vamandeva, Bali Maharaja was actually in possession of all Dvipas or islands in space. Bali Maharaja was very pleased to see the features of Vamanadeva and was ready to give him as much land as he could ask. But because Lord Vamanadeva asked only 3 pieces of land, Bali Maharaja considered him not very intelligent. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mami Mataji. So I'm able to give you the entire island because I'm proprietor of the 3 divisions. Probably this is what see, Bali Maharaj said, I am the proprietor of the 3 universe, these 3 divisions of the universe. He understood the purpose of life and everything, but still there are somewhere. So in the previous shloka, previous purport we have seen Prabhupada saying, you are only caretaker. Here, Bali Maharaj didn't think he's the caretaker. He thought, I'm the owner. So I have the authority on these places. I can do what I want to do. I can give you what you want. I can give you more than what you want. And when you are not, you are kind of not using your boon in the proper way, and what you asked for is kind of insult to me, basically. When I can give you so much, you're asking for me like when I can give you 1 lakh, you're asking me for 10 rupees, basically. So this again in the whole thought process of Bali Maharaj, it is me, my I. This is what has dominated his thought process, right? So here Vamanadev has constantly reminded Bali Maharaj how Prahlad Maharaj has served the Brahmanas, how Virochana Maharaj, his father, has served the Brahmanas, and they have served the Brahmanas not because they think they're in upper hand, but they think they are the caretakers. They served them with the thought process that they're the caretakers of the land and the people. Here, Vamanadev also felt he's the caretaker. He's the caretaker, but he felt he is the caretaker. Basically, it is his ability that is making him take care of the people, basically. So that is where we have conflict of interest. What is the conflict of interest? The conflict of interest between what Lord wants devotees versus what devotee is trying to be himself, basically. And that is what Lord is going to take care of in the next 20 shlokas or so. So according to the Vedic understanding, the entire universe is regarded as an ocean of space. In the ocean, there is innumerable planets, and each planet is called a Dvipa or island. Basically, the island means a piece of land, basically. But when we look in the Kshirodakasaya Samudram, then the whole ocean, Earth is hanging in that ocean, basically. Each planet is an island on its own, basically, right? When approached by Lord Vamanadeva, Bali Maharaj was actually in possession of all the Dvipas, or the islands in the space. Bali Maharaj was very pleased to see the features of Vamanadeva and ready to give him as much as land he could ask. But because Lord Vamanadeva asked for 3 pieces of land, Bali Maharaj considered him not very intelligent. See here, Bali Maharaj is considering him not very intelligent because he is at that point of time is taking things in materialistic thought process. I can give you anything, but you're just asking me very small thing, basically. Only a small boy, who approaches me to beg something should not have to ask anything more, anywhere. So somebody who comes to me to ask something, after that, I will give him so much that he does not have to ask for anything anywhere. Therefore, if you wish, you may ask from me as much land as will suffice to maintain you according to your needs. So do not hesitate. After this, this is the last stop of request, basically. See, a human being or if somebody in materialistic world should not and cannot and should never make such kind of assumption that I am here to fulfill all your needs, basically. So that's where the correction is needed for Bali Maharaj, and that's what you will see in the next slokas to come. And the Lord says, the personality of Godhead says, "Oh, my dear king, even the entire entirety of whatever there may be within the three worlds to satisfy one sense. Senses cannot satisfy a person whose senses are not controlled. So if you are not able to control your senses, even if I'm not satisfied with 3 feet of land, I will not be satisfied with even 3 dvipas if you give me. So because the satisfaction is not function of what is tangible, but is a function of what do you call it? Desire. Satisfaction is a function of sense control. It's uncontrolled senses that deprive you of satisfaction, not the volume of things that you hold that deprive you of satisfaction, basically, right? Uncontrolled senses are the root cause of not being able to satisfy. When you have controlled senses, 3 feet is as good as anything else, basically, is what Lord is trying to explain Bali Maharaj to show him how he has conquered the world with certain amount of uncontrolled senses that resulted in him in conquering the world, in ruling the world. So Hiranyakashipu conquered the world to show his supremacy. Bhakta Prahalad controlled the world, conquered the world, or ruled the world to show them the path of divinity. And Bali Maharaj conquered the world to feel the satisfaction that I control I own this piece of land. Though he's using, though he's following sastric dharmic principles of the scriptures, but there's somewhere the element of bhakti that Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu had, what do you call it? No bhakti. Bhakta Prahlad had the bhakti, and Bali Maharaj did not have bhakti or no bhakti, but was more in a satoguna, that the God is now trying to take it to Suddha satoguna of that sect, of that Atma Nivedana, which we will see in the next set of shlokas. Hare Krishna. So with His Grace, Giriraj Prabhu is going to explain and take us tomorrow into that ocean of divinity in which Bali Maharaj is going to make his Atma Nivedana. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Professor Matajis. If there are any questions, I'll try to answer, or any comments or any chastisement, please correct me if I have said something wrong. Please forgive me if I said something wrong. So my understanding of what I learned, what I heard, and if there's any mistake, it is coming from my misunderstanding of what I read and not what is there in the book, basically. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Please forgive me if I said anything.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam Prabhuji. Very nice explanation, Prabhuji. Once again, I felt that I have seen Mahavatar Narasimha movie.
Rama.
Very nice explanation, Prabhuji. I joined little bit late. I missed that part, but whatever you taught me when I came, it was super, Prabhuji. Very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for your wonderful explanation.
Anybody, any other thing that want to add, Prabhu? Giriraj Prabhu, Praveen Prabhu, Lakshmi Mataji, Sunil Prabhu. Mataji, you want to add something, Amma?
Wonderful class, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you for the wonderful class.
Hare Rama, Lakshmi Mataji, Tanat Pranama. Thank you so much for joining.
Dandvat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Krishna. So yeah, so we are all eagerly waiting for Giriraj Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for taking up the most essence core part of this chapter. Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu. So see you for your class for tomorrow. Praveen Prabhu, you want to add something? Shigapal Prabhu. Sorry.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you for class. Thank you.
Where are you, Prabhu? Where? You still leaving?
No, today I'm not going. I'll go at 11 o'clock. Other train people left. They're going at 11.
Okay. So Prabhuji and Mataji, tomorrow we have Sanat Kumar Prabhu coming to Bhakti Center. Please come on time. most people are in vacation and out of town, so the count is also very low, but there's about 55. Probably there will be some more people that are not counted, so not have given us count. That's normal experience, I think, from the last few days. We at least see 40-50 people that have not given count but are coming. So it's one of the nice opportunities. Sant Kumar Prabhu is one of the senior most disciples of Sri Radhanath Swami Maharaj. He is the director of Govardhan Eco Village. He's done a lot of work in reviving what do you call the right seeds for the farmers and the rural education. These are the two elements he takes care of. Maharaj's Ganga Yamuna Saraswati plan, they call it. It's taking care of education, prosperity of farmers is what he most spends his time on. Very simple man. Very nice to, it'll be nice to spend time with him. So probably less number of people, in a way also gives little more the Baita experience. Maybe we'll get that experience tomorrow. And Prabhu is actually having a session till 3:30 in temple. So 5:30 is our session. So if somebody wants to volunteer to bring him from Abid's temple, please let me know. So one of us have to go. If not, I will go. Just accompany me also. Yes, we can go together. Please let me know. We should. Yeah. And then.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna Vrindi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the